I'm the matriarch of a marquise household. My stepson is hopelessly in love, completely ruled by his feelings, and he fell for a low-born woman. He kicked up a huge fuss, insisting on marrying her. I didn't agree. As a result, the woman died. My stepson hated me to the core. In the end, he tortured me to death. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the very day he secretly promised himself to that woman. His face was flushed as he knelt before me, begging me to approve the marriage. I smiled and said, "Sure, go ahead. Just remove yourself from the family genealogy. Don't tell me your love's so deep you can't even do that." What a joke. Even if I had to go through it again, I still wouldn't let you get your way. 1. Mother. This is the one I love, Hinyang. Chi Yushin knelt before me, his face burning red, ears flushed. Next to him knelt a delicate young woman. The two of them locked eyes with such sticky sweetness it looked like they'd start kissing right there. Chi Yushin declared firmly, "I will marry no one but her in this life. I beg for your blessing." I looked at his face, emotions swirling within me. In my previous life, he'd said the exact same words. Unfortunately, I didn't give my consent. Not only did I refuse, I flew into a rage. That girl, Hinyang, her real name was Zue He.
Just look at that name.
It screamed scandal. It was her stage name from the brothel. She was a courtesan. How could the heir of a marquise household possibly marry a woman from a brothel? I was furious. I kicked Zue He out and gave Chi Yushin a harsh beating. By the time he'd recovered, I heard Zue He had died, heartbroken beyond repair. Chi Yushin fell silent after that. He accepted the noble lady I arranged for him. Their marriage was harmonious, and within 3 years, they had 2 children. I thought that would be the end of it, that the rest of my life would be peaceful and blissful. But in the end, Chi Yushin poisoned me until I was paralyzed. With eyes full of hate, he yanked at my hair like a madman. "If it weren't for you meddling, I would have married Hinyang long ago. You deserve to die. You should have died in her place. How the hell was I supposed to know? You already had 2 kids in 3 years and still couldn't let go of your old flame? If she meant that much to you, why didn't you stay faithful? Why get married and have children?" But I never said those words out loud. In his fury, Chi Yushin grabbed a large iron nail and drove it through my temple, straight through my brain. I died on the spot.
2.
When I opened my eyes again, it was the day he brought Zue He to see me. They were kneeling in front of me. The air was silent and still. I said nothing for a long time. Knowing my temperament, Chi Yushin started to panic, though he still pressed his lips together stubbornly. He held hands with Zue He, tears brimming in both their eyes like they were a pair of star-crossed lovers being torn apart by a cruel stepmother. Chi Yushin whispered, "Hinyang, don't worry. Even if mother refuses, I'll still marry you, even if it kills me." Zue He burst into tears. Looking at the two of them, I smiled faintly and spoke slowly. "Who said I don't agree?" Chi Yushin was overjoyed. He banged his head on the floor twice, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you, mother, for your great kindness. But I have one condition." Chi Yushin was still visibly excited. "Whatever it is, I'll agree, even if it means taking her as a concubine instead of a wife." Oh my, marrying one and getting a concubine thrown in? That's a win-win for you. You must be over the moon. The smile on my lips deepened as I said casually, "Chi Yushin, I want you to voluntarily remove yourself from the family registry. You will no longer be a member of the Chi family. That way, you and Miss He can be together forever. No one to stand in your way." The joy froze on Chi Yushin's face like a thin layer of ice, shattered in an instant, revealing his stunned expression. He stammered, "Mother, what are you saying? I'm the heir of the marquise household. I'm father's son. How could I be struck from the family records? That's against all rules and traditions." I covered my mouth with one hand, looking down at him from above. "Oh, so now you remember you're the marquise heir? Funny. When you were begging to marry a courtesan just now, that slipped your mind, didn't it? What a sharp memory you have. And another thing, The only person who can rightfully claim the title of heir is a son of mine, Jiang Ping. Your birth mother, Wei Shi, was a concubine raised under my name. That's the only reason you were counted as a legitimate son. Zue He's pupils trembled violently. She looked at Qi Yushin in disbelief, her voice trembling. Ashen, how come I never knew any of this? The fact that Qi Yushin was a stepson had always been a closely guarded secret in the household. Few outsiders knew. Qi Yushin had always carried himself as my biological son. Even though he always missed his birth mother in his heart, the Jiang family held great power and influence, and Qi Yushin wasn't stupid. He would never have told Zue He the truth himself. The seemingly unbreakable wall of love between them had just shown its first crack. A crack called trust. 3. The choice is yours, I said calmly. I am your legal mother and the one who holds all power in the Marquis household. Being removed from the family register is not something I say lightly. If you insist on marrying her, then the Marquisate of Dingyuan and the Jiang family will no longer stand behind you. Qi Yushin's lips trembled, and his face began to twitch uncontrollably. In my past life, I had torn them apart without giving him a chance. But now I was curious. If he had to choose between love and his future, which would he pick? Qi Yushin had once declared he would give up his life for Zue He. Well, I was giving him that power now, and he didn't even need to die. What would he choose? Zue He's expression changed. She instinctively took 2 steps back, eyes locked on Qi Yushin, as if waiting for an answer. Qi Yushin trembled like a leaf in the wind. He opened his mouth, struggling to speak, and looked up at me with pleading eyes. His voice shook. Anyang. When he was young, he used to call me that all the time. Later, as he grew up, Anyang turned into the more formal mother and eventually into wretched woman. Hearing those 3 syllables again made my skin crawl. I felt sick to my stomach. So I said deliberately, No way, no way. Shinner, didn't you say you'd die for Hinyang? Then why the hesitation now? You weren't lying to Anyang, were you? A promising future is precious, sure, but love is priceless. If you can't even give this up, how can you claim you love her? I turned to Zue He with a sweet smile and said gently, Isn't that right, Miss He? When a man says he loves you, don't listen to his words, watch what he does. Sweat the size of peas trickled down Qi Yushin's pale forehead. He looked at me, then turned to Zue He, gritting his teeth.
Bang.
He kowtowed deeply. His voice rang with resolve. Mother, Oh dear. I cut him off and stood up with a gentle smile. Shinner, I was just joking with you too. Why would I stop you from getting married? 4. Older folks just like to tease. Isn't that right? Though to be honest, I'm only 28. But due to my seniority, having married Qi Yushin's father and becoming a stepmother within a year of marriage, I guess I count as older now. Qi Yushin was completely stunned. He stared at me in a daze, pale-faced, that answer he was about to give stuck in his throat, never making it out. I gently helped him up. I'm just all bark and no bite. Anyang will pick an auspicious date for your wedding. It was settled. But the couple didn't seem as happy as I'd imagined. Zue He furrowed her brows tightly, staring hard at Qi Yushin, her face clouded with doubt. I could guess what she was thinking. That answer Qi Yushin nearly gave, was he about to choose not to marry her? The wedding was now a done deal. Only Qi Yushin knew what his choice would have been. He'd never admit it, of course. He'd insist he was going to choose her. But how could she believe him? A man who couldn't even be honest about his origins. Could he really love her wholeheartedly? Would he really give up his future for her? He says he would, but just because he says it, does it mean it's true? After all, sweet talk and grand promises are just words. All it takes is moving your lips. It's easy, effortless. As I watched their conflicted expressions, I smiled slowly. The wall of love between them had developed its second crack.
Doubt. 5.
The wedding day arrived. Red robes, double happiness symbols, dragon and phoenix candles. Guests flowed in and out, the sound of jade ornaments chiming, music playing, wine flowing like a river. Qi Yushin's face was flushed red, just like his wedding robes. Zuei's face was hidden under a bridal veil, but her delicate frame swayed like a willow in the wind, bashful and shy. She should have been happy. I sat at the head of the room, watching the star-crossed lovers. The wedding official called out loudly. First bow to heaven and earth. Second bow to the parents. Husband and wife, bow to each other. He bent forward gracefully. Bow to your damn self. A thunderous shout shattered the ceremony, catching everyone off guard. A furious figure burst into the hall. It was none other than Qi Yushin's birth mother, Wei Shi. Her eyebrows were sharply arched, and with a few quick steps, she stormed in and yanked the veil off Zuei's head. She shouted, full of contempt, "What the hell are you? A courtesan from a brothel wants to marry the young master?
Pa. Bitch.
You're not even worthy of being a concubine." He was shocked and humiliated, too stunned to say a single word. Everyone knew Qi Yushin's bride wasn't from a noble family, not even a respectable household. But out of consideration for the Marquis estate, people only whispered behind closed doors. Only Wei Shi, in her blind motherly devotion, dared to yell it to Zuei's face. Qi Yushin was dumbfounded. "Mother, Aunt Wei, why are you here?" He had some contact with Wei Shi in private, but he had forgotten to send her a wedding invitation. How did she get in? Wei Shi was the old lord's beloved concubine, I said solemnly, my words making the guests' eyes widen. Before his death, he always wanted to bring her into the household. Unfortunately, sob. "It's your son's big day, madam. Please don't cry." I wiped away invisible tears and sighed. So I brought Wei Shi into the estate to take care of her in her old age. As my words fell, a wave of praise rose from the guests.
Ha.
Qi Yushin, am I not good to you? Not only did I let you marry the woman you longed for, I even brought your real mother into the estate for you.
Boom.
He collapsed to the ground and fainted on the spot. This absurd wedding ended with the bride falling unconscious.
6.
Although Wei Shi caused a huge scene, the marriage was already sealed and couldn't be undone. She was furious, agitated, and took all her anger out on Zuei. He slept until the sun was high. Wei Shi shouted, You don't even know to pay your morning respects? Did all your manners get fed to the dogs?" He didn't do household chores. Wei Shi scolded, "Lazy good for nothing. Can't even embroider a flower. Raised without a proper mother, huh? You think just because you married into the Marquis's household, you're suddenly some pampered noble lady who doesn't need to lift a finger? Let me tell you, dream on. You're the reason my son couldn't marry a proper noblewoman." But he wasn't the type to just roll over and take it. After being scolded for long enough, she retorted, "What a joke. Just got brought into the household and already acting like a senior? You're not even a concubine. You're just a mistress, and you think you can lecture me, the official wife of the heir?" Wei Shi never expected her to talk back. She immediately slapped her. "Lowly courtesan. How dare you put on airs?" She hit hard, and Zuei's face instantly swelled with a red handprint. He sneered. "Oh, what are you saying, Andy? Am I the only one from a brothel? Weren't you also once a courtesan? You and Meixiang even swore sisterhood and served as entertainers together. What makes you so proud now? You clung to the old Marquis and became a kept woman, not even officially a concubine, and you've already forgotten where you came from?" Qi Yushin, who had been silent all this time, suddenly shouted, "He Nyang, what nonsense are you saying?" He turned abruptly, tears in her eyes. "You didn't say a word when she hit me. But now that I talked back, now you speak up." "She is my mother," Qi Yushin said heavily. "My mother's had a hard life. Why are you stabbing her in the back like this?" "That's enough. A wife should serve her mother-in-law. What daughter-in-law talks back to an elder like this?" Wei Shi immediately leaned into it, collapsing to the side and weeping loudly, crying about her miserable fate. He finally couldn't take it anymore. She slapped Qi Yushin across the face. 7. At that moment, I was leisurely feeding grapes. Of course, not to myself. A broad-shouldered, slim-waisted young man knelt at my feet, his upper body bare, showing off his toned arms and abs. There were two such men. One had long, narrow phoenix eyes that tilted up at the corners, seductive and soulful. He parted his lips slightly and said obediently, "Please have mercy on me, madam." The other refused to be outdone. He took my hand and placed it on his sculpted shoulder, his starry eyes full of longing. "Madam, won't you look at me too?"
Damn.
If people in the capital knew how great I had it. The Marquis of Dingyuan had been dead for years. He died when Qi Yushin was still young, and the title hadn't yet passed down. I, a young widow, raised him alone, overseeing his studies, his health, and his mental well-being, while also managing the household affairs. I was endlessly busy. But in my past life, when Qi Yushin was feverish and unconscious, I stayed by his side night and day. And yet, he kept murmuring, "I want my real mother." That little bastard. Ungrateful from the start. After all I'd suffered, he betrayed me in the end. So in this life, all I want is to enjoy myself. Is that so wrong? He is already dead. Even if he climbed out of his coffin in rage at the scene, I'd just stroke these abs and sigh. Younger men really are better. Just like he married 6 concubines. Don't worry. I treat them all equally. My heart fluttered as I kissed one's crow-feather lashes and the other's rosy lips. The man with phoenix eyes closed his eyes and deepened the kiss.
So sweet.
Sweeter than grapes. "Madam." Suddenly, a voice rang out, clear, loud, and piercing, vibrating my eardrums. 2 shadows appeared at the doorway, rushing toward me. Meanwhile, I was still locked in a lingering kiss with the man. My pupils shrank in shock. Seriously? Couldn't they have picked a worse time? Those 2 damn nuisances.
8.
I sat upright, face blank. Qi Yushin and Zue He stood before me, each with a clear slap mark on their face. Chunmon whispered in my ear, telling me Zue He had been hit by Wei Shi, and Qi Yushin had been slapped by Zue He. Wei Shi truly was a marvel. Bringing her into the household was like throwing a bomb into the back courtyard. There would be no peace ever again. "Mother!" Qi Yushin raised his head and cried out sorrowfully. "I want to divorce my wife." I frowned. Zue He's eyes widened in shock. Qi Yushin didn't hesitate and said loudly, "To think I married a woman like this. Disrespectful, sharp-tongued, and dares to slap both me and my mother. The Dingyuan Marquis' household cannot tolerate a wife like her. I want a divorce. Mother, please allow it." I was honestly surprised. I didn't expect their love fortress to crumble so quickly.
Then again, fine.
I wasn't afraid of destroying both Qi Yushin and Wei Shi. Zue He burst into sobs. Her tearful face looked at Qi Yushin like a rain-soaked pear blossom. "Yulong, are you really so heartless? I only lashed out in a moment of panic because your mother insulted me. How could you treat me like this? Have you forgotten all our vows of eternal love? If I lose you, what's left for me in this life? I'd rather die right here." Of course, Qi Yushin couldn't bear to let her die. He immediately pulled her into his arms, red-eyed himself. The 2 of them quickly turned affectionate again, practically ready to devour each other on the spot.
Fine.
Whatever. Respect and blessings to you both. I glanced toward the inner room. Behind the bed curtain, a long hand crooked its finger at me, full of seduction. I really wanted to go take care of my actual business. My expression darkened. I looked at the lovebirds and barked. "Qi Yushin, you've truly disappointed me."
9.
Qi Yushin was stunned again. I let out a deep breath and said with a blank expression, "Do you treat marriage as a joke? You say you want to marry, and when things get tough, you want to end it? Over something so trivial. You want a divorce. What do you think of me? What about the reputation of the Fofu? You have truly betrayed my sincere love for you." I looked at Qi Yushin, disappointment filling my eyes. "In the past, I thought your mischief was just youthful folly. But you're married now, and you're still so willful. A person like you can't bear the responsibilities of the Ofu." Qi Yushin was stunned and could only keep apologizing. The wind blew through the inner curtains, revealing a hint of seductive skin behind the drapes. My Jade Emperor Guanyin. Pink. I quickly turned my gaze away, more furious than ever. It's all because of you two fools ruining my plans. I slammed my hand on the table and stood up. Maybe I should reconsider and change the air. Get out.
10.
The whole Hofu knew about it. Qi Yushin was severely scolded by me. The rumor even spread that I might change the air. Old Duke Dingyuan, also my dead husband. This dead man isn't a playful term, but a true description of his current state. Spent his life either fighting wars or taking concubines. He had 12 children, all illegitimate. These 11 kids were all eager for the title, like a pack of wolves circling. If Qi Yushin were the legitimate son born to the main wife, then fine, no problem. But the key point is that he's the son of a concubine. His luck just happened to be good. The old duke adopted him under the main wife's name, making him the heir by chance. In the Dazhou dynasty, the succession followed the legitimate eldest son rule. If there was a legitimate son, he would inherit the title. If not, the eldest son of any wife would do. Now, the main wife had announced that she was going to strip him of his heir status and his legitimacy. If we are all illegitimate, then who is more noble?
What?
Just because you can sit in this position, I can't? In an instant, my courtyard was surrounded by my eager children. They came to greet me, bringing gifts, playing, and joking. I experienced the life of children surrounding me. On the first day, I sailed with my eldest daughter and gave her a golden hairpin passed down in the Jiang family. On the second day, I spent time with my second son, discussing poetry, books, and art, and gave him a treasured sword from Qi He. On the third day, I played with my youngest daughter, giving her a dazzling, gem-encrusted outfit. The goal is to treat everyone equally and show affection to each child. In Dazhou, both men and women could inherit titles, and everyone thought they could become the heir and inherit the title of Duke Dingyuan. Everyone had a bright future. Except for one person. He was desperate. Truly desperate. Qi Yushin threw 3 vases in his bedroom. 11. According to Chunlan, after Qi Yushin fell out of favor, his siblings didn't treat him as respectfully or affectionately as before. Instead, they became sarcastic and mocking. This made Qi Yushin furious, and he smashed things in his rage. I rolled my eyes. What a waste, it's all my money. Someone tell him that if he smashes anything else, he can just leave. Interestingly, I thought Qi Yushin would take his anger out on Zue He, but he didn't. They became even closer, like a couple in distress, inseparable, sharing their feelings every day. That old man wants to strip me of my title. Qi Yushin gritted his teeth. That old man was probably referring to me. I listened in shock. I'm still young, a woman at 31, still blooming. What do you know? Zue He's voice overflowed, even more anxious than Qi Yushin. Husband, if you're stripped of your title, this huge family business will be handed over to someone else. What will we do? My title as the heir's wife. I don't know. Think of a way, He-nyang. Zue He's voice suddenly became cold and calculating. She slowly said, Husband, listen to me. If we let her, then you'll?
12.
A few days later, Qi Yushin came with Zue He to greet me. Although rumors of changing the heir were rampant, and he was going mad at home, smashing things and getting scolded by me again when facing me, he still acted like a filial son, moving and touching. This man really knows how to pretend. How can I explain? He can act so well. He respectfully saluted. Son greets mother. I pretended not to see and continued feeding the child in my arms an apple. The child's biological mother, Zhao Yinyang, smiled and said, Madam really likes little 12, always holding him, treating him like a treasure. Yes. I let go of the child, smiling and replying, I still find young children lovely, obedient, and they don't defy adults. Qi Yushin's eyes flashed with a hint of resentment. He smiled and repeated the greeting. I waved my hand dismissively and was about to stand up and stretch. But suddenly, everything spun. The world seemed to turn upside down and my vision blurred. Sweat instantly dropped from my forehead. Zhao Yinyang shouted something, but I couldn't make out the words. A sweet, metallic taste surged in my throat. I bent over and spit out a mouthful of blood. I closed my eyes and fell backward, my consciousness plunging into darkness. 13. I fell ill. I was weak, dizzy, and unconscious, on the verge of death at any moment. Several doctors came, but they all shook their heads. The entire household of the Marquis was in chaos. The previous rumors about changing the heir were naturally forgotten due to my worsening illness. Qi Yushin pretended to be a good son. He stood by my bed, looking sorrowful, and after leaving the room, he couldn't help but smile, a smile that came from the depths of his heart. But he didn't know. Two others shared the same dramatic change of expression as he did. After the room cleared, Chunmon's mournful expression vanished, replaced by a healthy smile. She pulled out a braised duck foot from a hidden compartment and said, "Madam, please eat." I went from weak to surprised, devouring the food greedily. Faking illness was difficult. I hadn't eaten or drunk anything, and was so hungry that I felt my soul leave my body. Chunmon spoke softly. "I've arranged a new batch of men, each more handsome and strong than the last. I've told them to come in at night and leave by dawn." I couldn't help but give Chunmon a thumbs up. What a good woman. She truly understands my needs, knowing that even a sick person needs some entertainment. That day, as I eavesdropped outside the door, I could hear Zue He's soft voice flowing like water. She said, "Husband, listen to me." Zue He continued, "What if she can't change the heir anymore? The old one has been pressing us for too long, and she's getting to that age. At that time, we'll poison her, bribe the doctor, and say it's an incurable illness. She'll naturally die from her illness. Then, you'll have the rightful power over the Marquis household, and I will be the Marquis's wife." Let me repeat this again. I'm not some old thing. I'm young, and women at 31 are in their prime. But neither Qi Yushin nor Zue He expected that I would also bribe a doctor and spy within his courtyard. It was a spy within a spy. I turned the tables, pretending to be seriously ill. The next day, I weakly summoned someone. An unexpected person. Qi Yushin's birth mother, Wei Shi. I couldn't get out of bed, so I just revealed my head and said, gasping between words, "Ah Wei, with my condition, I can't manage the Marquis's household. Today, I will give the position of household manager to you." 14. Wei Shi went crazy with joy. Who would have thought this? After being a concubine for 20 years, she suddenly rose to become the Marquis's wife. Now, everyone in the household had to obey her orders. She was overjoyed and flaunted herself everywhere. She'd criticize anyone she met. Zue He was furious. She hadn't expected this twist. By all rights, if the Marquis's wife was seriously ill, the position of household manager should have gone to the heir's wife. The duck she was expecting flew away, and it landed in Wei Shi's lap, a woman she had always looked down upon. Wei Shi, now in a high position, was becoming more and more disdainful of the daughter-in-law from the brothel. She repeatedly asked Qi Yushin to divorce and remarry. Qi Yushin was annoyed. He loved Zue He and didn't want to marry another woman, though taking a concubine was still an option. He respected his birth mother, not wanting to hurt her feelings. But Zue He couldn't take it anymore. She had thought that once I was gone, things would finally get better, but she hadn't counted on Wei Shi. Seeing Wei Shi's smug expression, she knew she would have to wait for me to die before she could become the older woman. Zue He cried out, "I can't stand it anymore, Yulong. Say something." "But she's my biological mother." Qi Yushin's voice grew louder than hers. "Do you want me to disregard filial piety and defy my own mother? You're a daughter-in-law. Why do you oppose her so much when she says something?" Zue He cried, "Does she want to press me down for the rest of my life?" "Yes," Qi Yushin said coldly. "I'll tell you the truth. I will support my mother. You'd better treat her with respect, like I do." Zue He's eyes filled with tears as she said, "Fine. My heart is dead." With that, she turned and left. The next day, explosive news spread through the Marquis's household. The heir's wife, Zue He, in a fit of grief and indignation, drowned herself, her body never to be found. 15. You killed Zue He. Qi Yushin's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Wei Shi. Just as he had once looked at me with hatred, now his vengeful gaze fell upon his own mother. Wei Shi was extremely surprised. Son, your wife jumped into the lake on her own. What does that have to do with me? I didn't push her. If you hadn't been so hard on Zue He, she wouldn't have killed herself. Qi Yushin paced the room, clutching his hair in pain, shouting. Wei Shi defended herself. I did it for you. A woman from a brothel becoming the Marquis's wife. People would gossip about us behind our backs.
Don't you understand that?
Zue He is all about romance. She doesn't know how to manage the household, and she'll be laughed at when socializing with the noble ladies. How can she help you? Now, it's for the best. She's dead, and I'll find you a good woman. After being in charge for a while, Wei Shi's speech became clearer. But Qi Yushin, in a fit of rage, sobbed, Are you so happy that Zue He is dead? I don't care. I want Zue He. You killed her. Wei Shi's gaze turned cold as she sharply said, Qi Yushin, for Zue He, you're willing to disregard your mother's love, aren't you? Then kill me. Give Zue He's life back. Qi Yushin closed his eyes in agony. One side was his blood-related mother, the other was his beloved. He shouted, Shut up, stop talking. Wei Shi's anger flared. She pointed at Qi Yushin's face and spat, shouting, I knew it, you ingrate. How could I have given birth to such a thing as you, eating from both sides? Can't you live without Zue He? Then go die with her. Go ahead. Go die. Qi Yushin's eyes were blood-red, and his head felt heavy with rage. Wei Shi continued to curse, words filthy and unceasing. Qi Yushin shouted at the top of his lungs. He stood up, summoning all his strength, and shoved her hard. Qi Yushin likely only wanted to silence Wei Shi, but with the force he used, he couldn't control it. Wei Shi screamed as she fell down the stairs. Her temple hit the sharp corner of the white marble, blood pouring from her forehead. She fell silent, unconscious. Qi Yushin, still filled with frustration, approached and kicked her hard. He vented his anger over Zue He's death on his own mother, punching and kicking, not knowing how long it went on. Qi Yushin suddenly came to his senses. In disbelief, he reached out, trembling, and checked for Wei Shi's breath. Silence. Qi Yushin screamed in despair. Wei Shi, his birth mother, was dead.
16.
The news of Wei's death quickly spread throughout the Ofu. According to Qi Yushin, Wei had fallen and hit her head. By the time he arrived, she was already lifeless. He cried hoarsely, looking utterly exhausted and disheveled. I was still weak from my illness, but I squeezed out 2 tears upon hearing the news. Qi Yushin had lost both his wife and his mother in succession, and in his grief, he locked himself in his bedroom, refusing to leave. I thought to myself, it's time to drop a bombshell. His beloved Zue, he was actually not dead. 17. In the last life, after my death, Qi Yushin had planned to bring Wei into the household. However, before that could happen, a delicate guest arrived at the Duke of Dingyuan's estate. It was none other than Zue He. She was tearful and poured out her heart to Qi Yushin. She said that she had fallen into depression and the doctor had given her only a few days to live. Despondent, she had left for a distant place. But unexpectedly, she met a famous doctor who cured her. Zue He then rushed back to reunite with Qi Yushin. His beloved, thought to be dead, had returned, and Qi Yushin was overjoyed. Of course, all of this was a lie. After my rebirth, I had Spring Orchid investigate Zue He's past. Spring Orchid told me that before meeting Qi Yushin, Zue He didn't even go by that name. She had many names. Spring Orchid recounted. The eldest young master saved Zue He from the hands of a villain, and he fell in love with her at first sight, their feelings growing over time. But before that, the young master of the Wang family also saved her from a villain, and they were attracted to each other. However, the Wang family's father disapproved, so nothing came of it. So, the death and resurrection of Zue He in my previous life became clear. Seeing my strong objections, she had faked her death and escaped. Once I died, she returned to enjoy wealth and honor. And so, I devised this plan. Zue He, seeing that Wei was going to suppress her for the rest of her life, unable to flaunt the power of the Duchess and constantly enduring hardships, once again faked her death and fled to another place. There, she found a wealthy husband. They lived happily ever after, sweetly and lovingly. This trick was really her specialty. But unfortunately, she ran into me. 18. Qi Yushin stared blankly at the scene before him. His deceased lover, Zue He, was now nestled in another man's arms, acting coquettish and sweet. They were inseparable and were about to kiss. Qi Yushin let out a roar and rushed forward, pushing them apart. Zue He, stunned, could not understand why Qi Yushin was here. She feigned confusion and asked, "Young master, who are you?" "You're still pretending." Qi Yushin angrily grabbed her collar and yanked it open, revealing a small red mole near her collarbone. He panted, "I won't be mistaken. You're Zue He." At this point, there was no point in denying it. Zue He rolled her eyes and said, "Let's part on good terms and don't keep bothering me." "Then why did you fake your death?" Qi Yushin screamed, "Don't you know you killed my mother?"
Pa.
"What does that have to do with me? When I left, your mother was still alive and well," Zue He retorted. "That old hag really deserved to die. She thought she could keep stepping all over me for the rest of her life. Off to hell she goes." In a matter of moments, Qi Yushin's world completely collapsed. His beloved wife committed suicide, and he had taken out his anger on his mother, accidentally killing her. Now, his wife was pretending to be dead and had been secretly seeing another man. He tore into Zue He in a frenzy. "You slut, evil woman, I won't let you get away with this. You're the sick one." Zue He screamed, "I should be the one complaining. How could I end up with such a foolish, filial idiot like you, who treats a prostitute and her mother like treasure? If I had known, I wouldn't have gotten involved with you. I even planned a heroic rescue, spent so much money." I spit. "Pay me back." Qi Yushin felt like he had been struck by lightning, his body stiffening instantly. "What did you say?" It turned out that the fateful encounter he had believed in was all a lie. It had all been meticulously planned by Zue He. He had always thought that he and Zue He were soulmates, connected by fate, but now he realized it was all fake. Qi Yushin completely broke down. "Get lost." Zue He sneered, "Look at you now, like a beggar, not even a hair of my fifth lord's worth." As she spoke, Qi Yushin's mind rang with a loud sound. His rationality shattered completely. He ran quickly, grabbed his long sword, and yelled to the heavens as he charged towards Zue He. By the time his senses returned, the sword had pierced through Zue He's body, and she lay on the ground, bleeding profusely. Zue He's eyes were wide open, her expression frozen in the last moment of terror. Qi Yushin pulled out the sword. Without tiring, he repeated the action, chopping at Zue He again and again, muttering to himself, "Bitch, bitch." In the distance, in the corner, I narrowed my eyes, coldly watching everything before me. 19. Qi Yushin was thrown into prison. Someone accused him of murder, of cruelly killing Miss Sueha. Qi Yushin collapsed in the courtroom, speaking each word slowly to defend himself. She was a woman from a brothel, and I even helped her get rid of her disgrace. His eyes were filled with hatred as he shouted, "I am the heir of the Dingyuan Marquis' estate. Zueha was my wife, and anyone who attended our wedding can testify to that. Zueha had an affair and was with another man. She committed adultery first. I only accidentally killed her. What wrong did I do?" He then invoked the power of the Dingyuan Marquis family and the Jiang family, trying to use his influence to suppress the matter. "Let me go," Qi Yushin threatened, glaring at the people around him. "Otherwise, I won't let you off." "Hold on." A voice interrupted him. Qi Yushin suddenly turned around. I walked slowly into the courtroom and gave a slight nod to the Chief Justice. He recognized me and cupped his hands in greeting. Madam Chi. I am the wife of the Dingyuan Marquis and the legitimate mother of the heir, this troublemaker standing before us, and I also have something to report. I spoke coldly. Chi Yushin stared at me in confusion, hesitating. Mother, but weren't you seriously ill? I smiled slightly at him. Is it impossible for me to recover? Or do you not want me to recover? Dingyuan Marquis' heir, Chi Yushin, murdered his biological mother, poisoned his stepmother, and disregarded the teachings of filial piety. I presented the evidence one by one. The Chief Justice's brow furrowed deeper and deeper, his face growing darker with anger. To think such a vile creature still exists in this world. In the Great Zhou, filial piety was paramount, and matricide was a grave offense punishable by the most severe of penalties. Chi Yushin collapsed in despair on the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. 20. The night before his execution, I visited him in prison. Chi Yushin looked disheveled and dazed. When he saw me, he lunged forward, desperately shaking the bars, his gaze filled with hatred. Why are you doing this to me? Such a strange question. In the last life, he tortured and killed me, and this life, he poisoned me. Yet now he asks me why I am doing this to him? The language he spoke felt strange, almost not like the official dialect of the Great Zhou. I ignored him and smiled slowly. That old thing has been pressing us down for too long. It was time for her to die. When the time came, we poisoned her and bribed the doctor to say it was an incurable disease. These were Zueha's exact words. Chi Yushin quickly realized, his face falling into despair. You heard everything. You were setting me up? Yes, I replied. Looking at him, I whispered in a voice like that of an evil spirit. Not only that, making your mother manage the household was intentional, to stir up conflict between her and Zueha. The little servant who led you to Zueha? Also my person. Tomorrow you're going to be executed by slow slicing. Are you happy? Chi Yushin trembled like a leaf in the wind, tears streaming down his face. He stared at me. Why? Because, I said, looking at him, smiling softly. Because you are the #1 scum of the heavens. How does that feel? Laughable. I would never reveal the full truth. The matter of my rebirth would remain buried in my heart. As Chi Yushin's cries echoed in the distance, I turned and left. Just then, the weather was perfect, the warm wind gently brushing my face. With each step, I walked toward the radiant sunlight. 21. I selected Aunt Zhao's youngest son as the heir to the marquisate. First, he was young and easy to control. Aunt Zhao was also reasonable. Most importantly, the little one was not He's biological son, but was born from Aunt Zhao's affair. It made me laugh. The thought that he had been cuckolded in life, and that after his death, the title he cherished was now going to another man's son. It truly filled me with satisfaction. Such a sweet feeling. Back at the marquisate, I feigned being gravely ill and left behind a will. Then, I decisively left. Managing the household and all the affairs of the marquisate was too tiring, especially when it was He's family I was overseeing. I hated him so much that I wanted to beat his coffin with a horsewhip. I just couldn't bear to handle it anymore. Anyway, Aunt Zhao was there. And so was the Jiang family. I took Chunlon and returned to my family's home, under the rule of the Jiang family in Luoyang. My parents treated me wonderfully. After I told them everything, the whole family wept. My mother wiped away her tears and said, I told you, you shouldn't have married. My father also said, Aping, just stay at home for the rest of your life. After all, in the Great Zhou, both men and women can inherit titles. We only have you as our child. I sniffled and nodded eagerly. Good. 2 hours later. Miss, are you satisfied with what you see? A voice as soft and beautiful as pearls rang out. I was blindfolded, but so excited that I swallowed hard. I can't see. A hand took mine, guiding it over broad shoulders, a muscular chest, and abs. 1, 2, 3. So soft, so soft. My gods! What heavenly paradise was this? I turned my head in a daze, not knowing where Chunlon was, excitedly shouting, Chunlon, come, feel this too.